I rewatched the game so you don't have to. I'm going to tell you what I saw: offensive line, quarterbacks, and that coverage unit.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for being in every day, or thank you for making this the first podcast you listen to every day. I'm your host, Ryan Harings. Really appreciate y'all. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if you win, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Today's episode, we are doing the rewatch. Thoughts on Daniel O'Neal, the offensive line, stock up, stock down, the best players from PFF, and offensive and defensive notes. We got a loaded show for you. Let's start here. Daniel O'Neal. So on this rewatch last week, I specifically focused on the defense. This week, I'm specifically focusing on Daniel O'Neal, the offensive line, kind of what happened, what went wrong. Daniel O'Neal, let's start there. Let's start with the 2 picks. So he had 2 interceptions, if you remember. I really wanted to go back and take a look at those interceptions. Bad decision, bad throw, combination of the above, nowhere else to go with the ball. That first pick, if you remember, this was a backbreaker momentum play. It was Wisconsin had just turned Alabama over on downs. It was 0-0. You know, you were on their side of the field. This was a huge moment in this game. This is one of the turning points of this game. This interception right here. I didn't hate the decision. When you go back and you watch this, Daniel O'Neal has him open. He has the receiver open. It's kind of a flood concept. They have a running back in the flat, and then they have, I think it was Vinny Anthony running about a 10-yard out, 12-yard out. The out's there. There's a defender kind of in between those 2 guys on Alabama. Daniel O'Neal doesn't do a good job here of looking that defender off. He's kind of focused on, but the throw's there. If he throws it on time into the sideline, this is a complete pass. He just made a bad throw. The throw was late, and it was to the inside, which allowed the defender to get back into coverage, make the pick. So I don't hate the decision, though. The decision was fine. The throw was there. It was just a poor throw. And young quarterbacks make poor throws. That's a bummer. I don't know what else to say. I didn't hate the decision, though. And decision-making is really important. I think the throws will get better with experience, but that was a bad one, but it wasn't a bad decision, in my opinion. If you go back and watch it, the throw is there, the route is there. He just throws it late, and it's inside, so it's not very accurate. The second Daniel O'Neal pick, that one to me is worse. That one to me, that's the Lance Mason going down the seam. He got rerouted a little bit. Honestly, they probably should have thrown illegal contact on that. That defender hits him about 15 yards down the field. The defender hits Lance Mason about 15 yards down the field. But whether Lance Mason was supposed to cut in front of his defender or not, I think it was covered either way. That was a forced throw, an unnecessary forced throw from Daniel O'Neal. So I didn't love that one. So on the 2 picks, I think the first one's just a bad throw. I like the decision. On the second pick, I don't like the decision or the throw. So what else do we see from Daniel O'Neal? I thought outside of that, he missed the throw to Vinny Anthony. Outside of that, I thought he was okay. There was a lot of pressure. I didn't think there were a ton of really quick, easy throws he could have made. A lot of times when that pressure was getting there, you know, there wasn't anybody that was really open. I thought he made a couple really nice under pressure throws. Once to Lance Mason when he had somebody bearing down on him. You know, he made a really nice pass to Jaden Ballard down the sideline. That was a dime for a touchdown. So I thought he was okay. He finished 11-17. I thought there were moments he used his legs really well, really intelligently. When there was nothing there, he was able to escape the pocket, get something going. He was also let down by his offensive line, which I'm going to get into next. So he can't make those interceptions. When you go back and watch him, I thought he looked okay. I thought there wasn't a ton there that he could make happen down the field. Bama's coverage was pretty good when you watched the All-22. So that was Daniel O'Neal. Let's move on to the offensive line. I feel a little worse about this after rewatching it. So let me get into the notes here. I thought Malman had a couple spots where he just whipped on a guy. He got chucked to the ground on one, and another one he just completely whipped on a sweep going to Dylan Jones. He's got to be a little better. Joe Brunner's got to be a little better. I'm sorry, man. Like, it's partially because the expectations are very high. He missed on an early sweep. He had another one where he got chucked to the ground. He had that 15-yard. When I say chucked to the ground, I mean he's engaged with the defender, and the defender just chucks him. They just discards him. He's too good and too physical for that to happen, I think. There's another one where that he had that illegal hands to the face call. The sweep, the play side was on the other side of the field. He didn't have to do that at all. Just if he does anything, he doesn't even really have to make a block. The play's going the other way and still getting the hands to the face. That was a 15-yard penalty that basically short-circuited that drive. I go back to it and I just think he has to be better to live up to the expectation that he has and kind of the reputation he has. And I think physically he can be. There was a play later in the game where he pulled across the formation and buried a guy. He can do that, but it's not as consistent as you'd like for one of the stalwarts of the offensive line. Ryan Corey. I think you have to give Ryan Corey credit here. I thought he came in, played really well for the lack of experience, no snapping issues. Going back and watching him in pass pro, I'm going to clip one of his. He has a great clip against number 90 Alabama defensive tackle. He just stacks him up, holds up by himself 1-on-1, 3-4 seconds in pass pro. I was impressed by what we saw from Ryan Corey today. A couple things we saw: the speed. Again, going back and rewatching this, if anybody's curious, couple spots where Bama gave this offensive line issues. The first one is they took really wide splits, right? So when we're talking about splits, we're talking about their defensive ends, their edge players. They attacked pretty wide. I think they realized that they had a speed advantage and they wanted to put Malman and Mandel in space. They were able to do that and they were able to take advantage. So Mandel, a couple times, the speed was just too much for him in this game. Redshirt freshman. These are really good athletes. It's on the road. There was a couple times he was not out of his stance quickly enough to really ride the edge pass rusher out of the pocket. And that caused some issues. A couple of times he just got beat off the snap. A couple times he got beat on stunts. Let's talk about that. So, let me finish up that point. I think the youth got a little exposed by the speed and athleticism today in the game by Alabama. That should get better. This was a bit of a baptism by fire. It's got to get better. But you're not going to face a lot of athletic fronts quite as fast as this Bama front. Stunts, Alabama used a lot of stunts. Again, I think very smartly, they realized this is an inexperienced Wisconsin Badgers offensive line. We're going to put them in some conflict. We're going to play with them a little bit. Stunts really hurt the Badgers this game. There was communication issues. There was one between Cubberly and Mandel where Cubberly's guy stunted, took an outside rush, and Cubberly just stayed with him, kind of rode him into Mandel, and then Mandel's guy looped around on the inside and nobody was there because both of them stuck on the inside player stunting to the outside. Communication issues, handling stunts, handling different fronts. Those were all real issues in this game outside of the physical mismatches and outside of the physical wins that Alabama had. They also won tactically. They crossed up Wisconsin's blocking scheme with stunts, with movement, with wide splits. There was another miscommunication play later in the game. Between Renfro and Cubberly, they ran into each other on a run blocking play. Cubberly went to the left, Renfro went to the right. They banged into each other. Renfro ended up kind of falling down. Those things got to get cleaned up. They just got to get cleaned up. And maybe I made a point earlier on a different show. I don't know why Renfro was out there at the end of the game. Maybe that's why, right? To clean up those reps and get a little better there. They did go on balance a couple times. You saw 2 or 3 times in this game where they brought an extra lineman over to the to the right side of the formation. So, they had, instead of Malman on the left, they would line them up on the right outside of Mandel, and they tried to create some unbalanced fronts there. None of that really worked really well. They did spring one run out of it, but overall, offense line has to get a lot better. Miscommunication, troubles on the edge, physically staying on their blocks. That was an issue for across the line, I thought. Getting to the second level was an issue at times. They got to be better. Got to be better. Tight ends. I think there were a couple times where Steck and Mason fell off blocks, but I also saw a couple times where they stuck them. I think they're getting better. I think they're getting better physically. I liked what I saw of the tight ends today. Running backs, I'd like to see Yak get more catches or more touches. He feels like the player that's moving the pile a little bit more than the others, running with a little bit more leg drive, a little more physicality. I would like to see Yak get a couple more touches. He had a couple nice runs in this, and even in the runs where he got stacked up, he has leg drive that gets you an extra yard or two. I like how decisive he's running. He's pretty much just one cut, put the shoulder down if nothing's there, and I'm going to drive you back 2 yards. So I would like to see more Yak in this game as well. That's kind of my offensive rewatch. Offense line's got to get a lot better. I can see what Daniel Neal's looking at times, but that second pick, you can't throw either of those picks, but at least the first one, I like the decision making. Run blocking, running backs, I like Yak. I'd like to see him get a little more touches. Coming up, defensive rewatch. Who stood out to me on that defensive line? What happened in the coverage in the secondary? We're going to talk about that next. Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second. Our friends of the show over at 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine, 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce of coffee, plus B vitamins, plus nutrients, with zero sugar and zero crashes. Listen, y'all, adulting is tough. Let's just you and I talk. I'm going off script for a second. Sometimes you're going to college night shift, you're working 2 jobs, a job, maintaining relationships, trying to remember your friend's birthday, you're dealing with kids and teachers, report cards, you got to get in shape. You might be doing a podcast at 1 a.m. Dude, adulting's tough. Sometimes you need a little bit of energy. You need that 5-hour energy shot to get you going in great flavors. And that's what it does for me. Honestly, enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love. Be bold. Try something new in a store or go online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Okay, let's talk defense. Going back in the rewatch on the defensive side. Some interesting stuff here. Let's start with the good. Right, let's start with the defensive line, which I thought was I mentioned it in my grade show the other day. The interior defense line against the run was great. Parker Peterson is really difficult to move. Brendan Lane, I thought, played really, really well on the inside. Ben Barton on a play where they actually gained 8 yards on a run. I thought Tackett Curtis or Christian Allegro took a bad angle. This was their first play when we kind of pinned them. They ran the ball off the right side for 9 yards. Ben Barton on that play stacks up 2 dudes and doesn't get moved. Parker Peterson earlier in the game stacks up a dude and just doesn't get moved. Brendan Lane rode a guard out of the hole, used his leverage, disengaged, and made the tackle for a 1-yard gain or actually a no gain. The defensive line is stout, and you can see them stack people up. I think what's happened this year on the defensive line, and credit to the staff, credit to Brady Collins, credit to the recruiting department for bringing these guys in. They just have some sawed-off tree stumps in there now, and you can't push a sawed-off tree stump. Parker Peterson, really impressive. I thought Aaron Witt, he wasn't, he's not a really big factor in the passing game or the pass rush game, but he had a couple really nice stops in the run defense. JVR Suggs had a couple moments in that. You saw Dylan Johnson in there. This is a really stout front seven against the run, and Alabama tried a couple times. Alabama, even in a moment where Alabama had passed 5 or 6 times in a row, when they tried to come back and run an inside zone, they got stuffed. Really, Bama could only run the ball getting to the edges. They got to the edge with Bernard. They got to the edge later in the game with another running play. They weren't able to run up the middle. And you can really see that when you see Ben Barton anchor down and not get moved off the line of scrimmage by 2 Bama interior offensive linemen. So I thought Parker Peterson played great. I thought Barton looked good. I thought Suggs looked good. Really, really solid interior defensive line effort there. Let's go to the edge. I thought Reiger was okay. That 15-yard roughing the passer penalty can't happen. I went back and watched it. I don't think it was ticky-tack. I know in the moment a lot of Badger fans thought that was a really ticky-tack call. He had 2 steps after Ty Simpson let go of the ball. And listen, I get it. I can only imagine he on that pass rush, Mason Reiger came on an inside rip. They ran a bit of a stunt. He had a clear lane. I can only imagine being a defensive lineman and seeing that guy open up in front of me as he's throwing the ball. I'm going to want to hit him too, but he's got to hold up there. They gave him a first down. Outside of that, he was active. He didn't always win his one-on-ones, but he did move the pocket a couple times, got a couple pressures, had a few tackles, really nice tackles in run defense. I thought he was fine. Cheeks holds the edge pretty well. I thought he did a good job in run defense, but he didn't do a great job in pass rush. I thought maybe this was a game for Fearby to get a few more reps. Alabama's tackles were getting pretty physical. Fearby's a little bigger. He had a nice moment later in the game, although we missed the sack. So I thought the edges were fine on the rewatch. Reiger maintains the level of activity that he needs to, but you would like to see him finish a little bit more, and you can't have that 15-yard penalty. You just can't have the 15-yard penalty. That's a killer, an absolute killer. Inside linebackers, really interesting. There were moments where Christian Allegro was the player of the game. His ability, let's start with the good with Christian Allegro. His ability to translate speed into power is unparalleled on this defense. He had 3 different blitzes that I was counting that he rocked a guy. One was the running back that we remember. If you're watching the game, Alabama's up 14-0. Allegro comes on an inside blitz and just demolishes the Alabama running back, puts him on his butt, gets the sack. turns it into like 3rd and 15, which they convert, right, because we get the penalty. But his ability to translate speed into power and time up blitzes is uncanny. He had another play where he blitz ran into the center and just rocked him back. He had another play where he got in the inside shoulder of the left guard and was able to knife in for pressure. He's really good. He's really disruptive north and south. He also had a really nice play in run defense, getting outside of the contain and kind of turning it back in. But in pass coverage, he doesn't quite get deep. He doesn't feel the zone quite well enough yet. It feels like to me watching the film, and again, this is me interpreting what I'm seeing. This is me not knowing the play call. This is me. So it's not, don't take this for gospel, but it feels like he gets sucked a little too shallow and people get behind him. He's got to continue maintaining depth on his zone drops. I think there's a bit of a still learning curve there for him for Allegro. And then a couple missed tackles. But on the rewatch, I didn't see it as egregiously as Pro Football Focus did. So I don't give him quite the amount of missed tackles that Pro Football Focus does. And again, he was incredibly disruptive. Going over to Tackett Curtis, so again, good and bad with this, a couple really nice plays north and south. There was a play, they ran a jet sweep, and Tackett Curtis diagnosed and blew it up. It's one of the best plays on defense the entire game. I mean, the film doesn't lie. He saw it coming before the receiver coming around the backside even got the ball, blew up the lead blocker, then blew up the ball carrier, no gain. There's another play north and south earlier in the game where he blew up a play in the hole. But pass coverage is an issue right now for him. They targeted him. He doesn't get depth on his drops. He runs himself out of zones he's in. There is an issue right now with pass coverage and Tackett Curtis. And there was a point where Alabama went 4 or 5 wide. And I just don't know if you can have Tackett Curtis on the field in those moments in pass coverage. If he's blitzing, maybe it's a different thing. Maybe when they do that, you just say, hey, go destroy the pocket. But you obviously can't do that every play. He was pretty rough to watch in coverage. I mean, I'm not here to ever pick on anybody. And I know he works his absolute butt off. I know the coaching staff loves him. He's got to get better in coverage or they're going to have to figure something else out. They were able to target him and go after him. And it wasn't competitive at times. Let's go secondary. One of the things you notice, and this was just where they just carved us up. Alabama just carved up this Badgers defense. And they did really whatever they wanted. It felt like we were playing safe, but still giving up deep shots, which is just crazy. Again, I think there's zone awareness stuff going on here where players are not as active in their zones as they need to be. Zone doesn't mean you just stand in one spot and don't you have to engage people when they come into your zone and then pass them off to other people. There's a level of communication and there's a level of zone awareness that go along with that. It's just like in basketball. Zone doesn't mean you just stand in one spot. You have to be active in your zones to diagnose what's happening, to take somebody, engage them, and then pass them off. And there just wasn't a lot of that. There was just players kind of sitting in space instead of reacting to players running routes. Zone's got to get quite a bit better. And then there's a lot of really soft coverages. We just gave Alabama a ton of just really simple pitch and catch. 10 yards off the ball. They were just kind of ripping off 6 to 8 yard out routes. And it was just a little too easy. It was a little too easy. It felt like we were somewhere in the middle of playing safe, but still giving up deep shots. And then the pass rush fell off as well. So Ty Simpson got rid of it pretty quickly, but there's also a lot of really clean pockets where he could step up, he could see the field, he could plant his feet, he could be on balance. And you have to have somebody, it's not about getting the sack all the time. It's about making him move his feet, having him shift to the left or right. There was a period in the third quarter into the fourth where we never did that. So combination of a lot of things. I thought we could have been a little more aggressive. Zone awareness needs to improve pretty dramatically. Rico's got to play more aggressive. Rico Hallman has to play more aggressive. He's just playing too passive. And then the pass rush has to get there too. So I know that was a lot, but that's kind of what I saw there. It was interesting to see Matt Young in at times. Zach been out, Matt Young in. I'm curious if that was an injury thing or what was going on there. On the first touchdown, so if you go back to that first 4th down where they got Bernard out to the outside on that sweep, it was a running back. It was 4th and 2 on the 2-yard line. Bama, we had a chance to get him off the field again. And they ran a receiver sweep to the outside. Deone Hill was on the outside of that. He had outside leverage. And instead of sprinting to the outside and forcing Bernard to cut back to the inside where Tackett Curtis was, Deone Hill just took a couple weird kind of slide steps and let Bernard outflank him. Deone Hill's got to maintain outside leverage there. When you go back and watch that play, that's on him. But yeah, tough, man. It was tough to rewatch that defensive effort. But again, bright spots too. Defensive line looked good. I thought Christian Allegro had some jaw-dropping plays. He's really, really physically talented. Secondary's got to get better. Defense has to get better. Zone awareness has to get better. All right, we're going to take a second here, come back. Pro Football Focus, best graded and lowest graded players, offense and defense. I'm going to tell you if I agree or disagree after watching the film with their evaluations. Coming up next, Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is phenomenal. It is the absolute daily fantasy app that I love more than anything else because we make a lot of decisions in life and we're right a lot. But with Prize Picks, being right means actually cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. One of my favorite features of Prize Picks is it's quick, it's easy, it's honestly an incredible way to follow along with football. And the best part is, even if one of your picks miss, Prize Picks invented the flex pay, so you can still double your money. Again, you're just picking more or less on stats on touchdowns, rushing yards for players, more than 2 to 6 players. If you're right, you're going to be able to cash in. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Today's episode also brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel, longtime sponsors, official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, and the official sportsbook of Ryan Harings, because it's fast, it's simple, it's easy. The payouts are incredible. Football's back, and right now they have an incredible offer. Your first $5 benefit hits, they're going to give you $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You could do a ton of fun stuff with $300 in futures, parlays, spreads, teasers, all over on FanDuel. Again, simple, fast, and easy, and the payouts are quick. No hassle. Like a lot of other places, no hassle with FanDuel. Unlike a lot of other places, there was no hassle with FanDuel. Some of those other places full of hassle. FanDuel's a non-hassle place. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app today. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, let's jump into Pro Football Focus grades. Who did they think were the best and worst Badger players of the weekend, and do I agree? Let's go to offense. Their highest graded offensive player was Cade Yakimelli at a 69, 70. They had him at about a 70 if you grade up. I think that's fair. I said in the running back rankings, or the running back discussion when I was talking about it, I think Yak could use more carries. I think he runs pretty physically. I think he's really running more decisive than either of the running backs. And physically, he's probably the best athlete in that group. I would like to see him, maybe it's a spark, maybe it's something that can get something going. I would like to see him get more carries next week. We'll see what happens, but I would agree with PFF on Yak. Number 2, they have Jaden Ballard with a 66 grade. I mean, this is kind of where FanDuel, and this is one of the things you have to realize with FanDuel, chunk plays are going to get a bigger grade for them. You know, a 41-yard touchdown for Ballard, incredible play. That's going to get a bigger mark in some ways than someone else playing consistently but not having a flash play. You know, a couple sacks will get you a better grade. So I don't know. I wouldn't put Ballard number 2 on offense. He had a great catch, not a ton else there. Number 3, they had Darian Dupree. I'm fine with that. Darian Dupree had a couple nice catches. I thought he ran hard. Good in pass pro, too. Both him and Dylan Jones, I thought, when you go back and watch the rewatch, they have some really nice moments in pass protection. So I'm fine there. And then I'd highlight Ryan Corey. They had him at a 65. I thought Corey played well. Given his youth, given the environment he was put into, that's something you can build on. 3 worst players on offense per Pro Football Focus. The lowest graded player they had was Danny O'Neal at 42.5. Again, I think it's one of those things where you throw a couple picks, your grade's going to go down. I would probably be a little higher on him than that, but he didn't play well. It was not a good Danny game. Couple picks, inexcusable picks that he can't throw. Missed Vinny on that deep shot. I think that's fair. Emerson Mandel, they had next with a grade of 49. He struggled in pass protection. Emerson just did, and we wondered if the speed would be a little bit much for him in this game. I think you continue to build with him, though. I like the physical skill set. I like the size. This is good for him. If he can take this and grow from it, which I see no reason why he can't. I've never heard or seen anything that would indicate that he's not that type of guy. I think this is good for him. But yeah, he did struggle in pass protection. I think that's a fair grade from PFF. Let's go to defense. Number one graded player on defense per Pro Football Focus, Aaron Witt with a 90. A 90 is a great grade. He made a couple really nice plays. Early first quarter, he shut down a drive, shut down a running play coming from left to right. He made a really nice tackle in open space on Ty Simpson. He had a good game. Aaron Witt had a good, solid game. He flashed a couple times when I watched film. He's more mobile this year than I remember him the previous couple of years. He's dropped in coverage a couple times. He's tough at the line of scrimmage. When Alabama got into the red zone, they put in Aaron Witt and they went with kind of a 4-3 look to be a little tougher in that red zone area. They went Daryl Peterson. I think it was Parker. I think Brendan Lane, Riger, and then they had Tackett, Allegro, and Aaron Witt on the field. So that was kind of their front seven to get a little tougher. They like him, and he played really well. I'm fine with that grade. Number two, they had Daryl Peterson at a 74.5. He had a really nice pass rush move. Daryl Peterson continues to flash at times, being able to kind of use his hands a little more violently on the defensive line. I would highlight Christian Allegro. They give him a 60.9. I think he had a better game than that. I think he's getting hit a little bit by the pass defense, but he was disruptive. I would have had him at a higher grade. Their three lowest grades, the three lowest grades per Pro Football Focus, Wisconsin defenders. The lowest grade they had was Tackett Curtis at a 37.1. Again, it's the coverage stuff. I don't know if I'd call him a disaster. Like 37.1 is a really bad grade. I thought he made a couple really nice plays in the run game. Again, he blew up a jet sweep, but he was pretty lost in coverage in this game. That's a spot he has to get better in. Number two, they had Matthew Young at a 45. He struggled in space. Again, it's a tough spot to jump into. He's still a younger player. So yes and no on that. Again, never take PFF as a gospel, but use it as a data point. And I think they're dead on with a couple of these. I think they're a little off on a couple of them. All right. On Wisconsin, we will definitely talk tomorrow. Really do appreciate you. Call-in show coming up as well. Go check out Locked On. We have a great show over Locked On College Football Preview, the Ultimate College Football Weekly Preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV.